Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Google Educators Group New Jersey Power Hour number 3. My name is Chris Aviles, and I have assembled an all-star cast for you today for this month's live hangout on air, where we talk about Google Apps for Education, great things that we're doing in the classroom, great things we're doing with our teachers, great things we're doing with our students. I would like to introduce you to our all-star cast, who are going to tell you a little bit about who they are and what they do in their district. Kim Mattina, who are you? What do you do?
Hi, everyone. My name is Kim Mattina. I am a technology integration coach for a middle school in Maysland in New Jersey, the William Davies Middle School. I push technology into the classroom and also provide professional development to the staff. And I am also a Google certified trainer. So most of my PD that I give to teachers are based on Google topics and Google implementation and Google tools and how we can use Google Apps more efficiently in the classroom with the students.
Outstanding. And then we have fellow GEG NJ leader, the one and only Kevin Jarrett. Kevin, how are you?
I'm great, Chris. Thanks for asking. How are you tonight?
Outstanding, sir. So tell us a little bit about what you do, what you're working on.
I'm a grades 5 through 8 STEAM teacher in Northfield, New Jersey, where we have a pretty awesome makerspace and teach the kids design thinking.
Outstanding. And you are also one of the evil geniuses behind EdCamp Philly, right? EdCamp Philly, May 14th?
Yes, May 14th, EdCamp Philly, the first. And this is year 6 for us, and very excited about it. Looking forward to a great time.
Absolutely. So I'm definitely going to be there. Hope to see everybody else out there.
Excellent. Thank you.
The one and only teacher cast, Jeff Bradbury. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. It is so good to be here. We are doing some pretty cool things around here in the Garden State. I am the coordinator of instructional technology up in Westwood School District, and also the co-host of the brand new Jersey Educator podcast, the only podcast created for and by NJEA members. So check that out over on iTunes, the Jersey Educator podcast.
Very cool. And drop that link, if you could, into our agenda.
Absolutely.
Outstanding. And finally, we have Alyssa. Alyssa, what have you been up to? What do you do? I think we might have lost her. We'll have to check back in. Oh, and she's gone. She'll be back, but last but never least, we actually have one of my 5th grade students.
Andon Muluchev!
Andon, how are you, buddy?
Good. Today I will be reading a script. Well, everybody reads script. But today I'm nervous. Today I will be talking about Google apps for education from a kid's point of view.
Outstanding. So you're going to kind of build on what we talked about last week, right?
Yes.
Fantastic. All right, buddy, let's hear it. What do you got for us?
Okay, so today I'm continuing last show's topic for Google Apps for Education, a kid's point of view. So let's start off with Google Docs. Google Docs is great for writing, as my teacher uses Docs for writing stories. The interface is user-friendly and easy to learn at a young age, kindergartners. Docs is great because it has auto-saving. It also cuts down on paper use, and sometimes you use that paper, and web-based means that you can't lose it. Sheets is great for taking down test scores and attendance, as I know a teacher that takes down attendance for his club. Sheets is also great for calculations in pixel art. Pixel art being out of the ordinary and fun, as Mrs. Smith, Mr. Aviles' assistant, made it with some 4th grade classes. Calculations being sum and other functions like that. Forms is great because my teacher wanted to start taking tests on it, and I think that's where it really shines, as the test part. Also, the new layout is way better, as the user interface is way more intuitive, as you can drag and drop instead of clicking the button. The answer sheet is also great, as it is in the form itself and is not a sheet. Slides is great. Presentations are easily put together. Like Docs, the user interface is easy and also very intuitive. I even made Jeopardy game in Slides, if that doesn't show you how powerful it is. I might be talking a little too fast. Mr. Bradbury even made a short frame-by-frame animations. Good job. Google Expeditions is fun combined with learning and the VR experience sprinkled in. As I have experienced firsthand, here's what I think. What I said Google Expedition is fun, but in a different way than not the fun la 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 la, but fun like wow. As you can see places that you'll probably never be able to see, but yet it is still learning, and that's what makes it fun. The VR experience makes it even better. Now Classroom. I think I saved the best for last, as there is nothing out like it and it is very easy sharing with teachers, posting stuff for your class to see, and the accessibility factor is huge as you can go anywhere at any time, and there is no more my dog ate my homework. So overall,
Outstanding.
Google Apps for Education is great, and as it says in the title, it is for education and it does it great.
Great job, buddy. And as Andon alluded to, we were very lucky to have Google Expeditions Beta come to our school. Andon and a lot of the kids at Fairhaven got to try out, firsthand how really cool Google Expeditions is. And in a little bit, Jonathan Rochelle, who's the director of product management for Google Apps for Education and one of the people behind Google Expeditions, he's going to be joining us. And since a lot of us on the panel have tried Expeditions, we're going to kind of talk about how we like it, where it's going. So Andon, great job, buddy. Thank you so much for joining us.
Bye.
Bye, buddy.
Also follow me at youtube.com/c/nodnamgames, NODNAM, MC, NODNAM, capital N, capital C. Thank you, and that's it.
Yes, give Andon a follow for his YouTube channel. He covers all kinds of Google Apps for Education. He's got some great Minecraft videos up there.
Totally true.
And he is a graphic design wizard, so he's definitely a fifth grader to keep his eye on. Maybe JR might scoop you up as part of the Google team tonight, buddy. All right, I'll see you tomorrow in school.
Bye.
Bye, buddy. And I see Alyssa is back. Alyssa, tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Hi, I'm Alyssa Miller. I'm an ed tech specialist in Middletown, New Jersey. I'm also a Google certified trainer. So I do a lot of going into classrooms, showing them how to use Google, integrate it into their classrooms. I'm also a Brain Pop educator. I do the digital citizenship lessons and anything else digital that comes.
And she's gone. So what we want to do now is we want to go to Jeff. Jeff is going to be talking to us a little bit about how to package lesson plans using Google Sites. And then we will go back to Alyssa, who wants to share a little bit about what the work she's doing with digital portfolios. Jeff, your frames were incredibly well received last week, so I'm excited to see what you got for us this week, dude.
I'm absolutely deathly afraid of following that kid. He is amazing. Yeah, a lot of good stuff going on last week with Google Frames, Google Slides, lots of neat things happening, and we've been doing some pretty awesome things up in Westwood, and mostly I'm trying to get teachers ready for next year already, right? They're not even done the park yet. And we're doing a lot of Google Sites, and I kind of wanted to run a couple ideas by all you guys here to see where you're thinking on this, but I'm starting to teach teachers how to package their lesson plans. And so recently I've been working with 3 different teachers, one set of 4th grade teachers, one high school teacher, and I've got somebody I'm working with in the middle school, and I'm teaching them how to package their lessons as templates. And for an example, the 4th grade classrooms are doing a whole unit around states in the union. And so they've got like 13 states they're working with right now on the southeastern part of the country, and 3 4th grade teachers. And essentially right now, the way that they divided this project, each teacher has 4 states they're going to work on. Each of those 4 states is being put together in a group of 4 or 5 students. So all 3 teachers are working on the same thing, but each group of kids has a different state. And each state has a Google drawing to put together, a Google Slides project to put together, and they each have a written report. And I'm trying to get the teachers to put together this project in a package, so that way in their Google Drive they have a folder which is called project, and then inside of that folder they've got 3 teachers, and then inside of that they've got the 3 states or the 4 states, whatever, and then inside of there. And so that way they're creating a single folder package that can then be duplicated or copied. And then next year when they start off, literally all of that work is done for them. So that way they have their templates, they have their Google Docs with all of their instructions. The Google Slides project that they're working on has individual slides already done up to say this slide needs a title, this slide needs your population, this slide needs your state bird, things like that. And what we're finding is that if we can put together these macro templates, it's easier for next year because the teachers will already have all this work done. B, instead of going through the traditional Google Classroom routine, they can link to the actual templates themselves. And overall, the kids are finding it easier because all the work is easier. The teachers can actually do more instruction than spend time fixing, tweaking things in documents. So I've been having a good time with this. I was just wondering if you guys have ever tried anything like this as far as making templates is kind of a smaller way of putting it, but really packaging up a lesson on a macro level. And then what we do is we take all of that stuff and we stick it into a Google site with the idea that next year all the teacher has to do is copy the Google site, and all the documents, all the instructions, everything is already pre-embedded into the Google site. So that way, let's say when you look at the state of Alabama, it's already got an announcements page. One of the announcements or blogs is a blank Google Slides. Another blog post on there is a blank Google Doc, and another post and there is a blank another project. And essentially, once next year that they just copy the Google site into version 2 or to the 2016-17 year, everything is set up, everything is done for them. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I understand, and I definitely like that idea because in the Innovation Lab at Fairhaven, we're doing something similar. Year to year, we're continuing to grow our Google site as a database for resources, quests that the students could go on, and stuff like that. And so we're having a lot of success with it. So I definitely like that idea.
Right now it's a little bit more work because we're on the fly creating the assignments, creating the docs, putting it all together, and working together to upload it as we go. But once we get all 50 states on this Google project together, literally it's just going to be copy paste, and next year they're going to just work on instruction, not building this project. And it seems like every teacher or group of teachers I work with, once they get past this is a lot, they realize for next year, this is already going to be done for me. And then they can they can exchange project on states, and they can do their science curriculum, and they can say, all right, we're not doing project on states, but we're doing planets in the solar system. And so that way they're just building this vehicle for all of their content. And I think they're finding that it's going to be easier on them in the long run. How are you? I know you guys are using Google Sites and Slides and Docs and all the other Google functions that are awesome. How are you helping teachers not just think about the project right now, but think about it for the future, so that way they can future-proof all of their lessons?
I mean, the example I use is going back to when I taught high school English. Over the course of 3 years, when I blended my classroom, I moved most of my lessons online. By the time I left the English classroom, my kids could pretty much do their work, from September to June, kind of at their own pace, self-directed, kind of self-paced. And what I loved is, while it was a lot of work to get that started initially, going forward every year, I just kind of updated the lessons that were already there, and I improved and tweaked. So I found it to be a lot in the beginning, but once I got it up there and I converted to kind of that online blended learning mentality, I loved it, and I pretty much, that's the way I do everything now. I'm a really big fan of it.
I think it's just easier for teachers in the end to see the big picture, and the big picture is this is going to save you time. And ultimately, that's one thing that every teacher, I think, wants to have more of is time.
Absolutely. And so I think Alyssa wants to jump in and talk a little bit how she's using digital portfolios. Alyssa, are you using portfolios with Google Sites?
Yes, so we're using Google Sites, and I'm happy you asked me this today because I was just working on it today with my 4th graders. We have a template I created for our site, and they embed their doc and slide presentation. They go subject by subject and embed different projects that they've been working on in different subject areas, and then reflect on it next to it. What was the project? What did they do? Why it was great? What they could do better. So we have it for every subject area. They also have it for special areas, and a separate area on the bottom for their extracurricular activities. They learn how to use screenshots. They learn how to make an avatar, and they make an avatar for it. So it really encompasses putting everything together. We also are working on putting QR codes on a bulletin board.
Uh-oh. Let's see if she comes back. Not looking good. So we'll jump to Kim too, because I think what Jeff and Alyssa are talking about really go well with what Kim's working on, and that is Google Classroom. And she's been she wants to talk about some of the great things she's been doing in her classroom with Google Classroom. And for me, a big thing that I like about that is I really think a classroom should have a teacher website, something like Google Sites, and then should have a learning management system. And we know how awesome Google Classroom is to use. So Kim, tell us a little bit about what you've been working on.
Well, I use Google Classroom for professional development. So my teachers are my students. So that's my hub for resources for them. I share resources with them, collaborate with them back and forth, and then that way everybody in the school that's in my classroom can share what's going on. The teachers in my school transitioned into Google Classroom, and like Jeff said, it's a learning curve in the beginning, but in the end, you're going to end up saving time because you invest all the time in the learning in the beginning, hoping that at the end it's going to save you time. So the teachers transitioned well using Google Classroom. They do like using it for the hub for their classroom, putting their resources in there, posting questions, assignments. They do like the fact that Google Classroom handles all of the file sharing permissions. So that's one less thing that the teachers have to worry about in Google Drive. They had to manually share. Google Classroom handles all that. So I got a lot of great feedback from them this year, and I'm really proud of them that they transitioned over, because some of them were reluctant to using it because a lot of them were used to using Edmodo. So we're gradually switching over to Google Classroom, and I got a lot of great feedback. The teachers, I think by the end of this year, they're going to continue to use it, and next year they're going to hopefully be the tech leaders to teach their colleagues a little bit more about Google Classroom, because that's what it's all about, having them embrace it and then share it with their team of teachers too. But a lot of the teachers use it with their students for really feedback and giving out assignments. I haven't heard any major complaints about it. A lot of teachers like to be notified on when students are commenting, and sometimes they're not getting the comments. So there's a little bit of a learning curve there with the settings and everything. But overall, it's been a positive experience using Google Classroom this year.
Awesome. And Kim, I have a couple questions for you, and anybody on the panel is more than welcome to answer this. So I've been working with the theory that I never send my kids directly into Google Classroom. I always send them to my teacher website, which contains the link to Google Classroom. And what I like about that is, all of the videos I use or all the resources I have, I like to have them on a Google site because they're kind of hard to keep toward the top, or you could kind of put them in the About section of Google Classroom. But I find that having the site, my kids go to the site and then from the site into Google Classroom would be better. How are your teachers directing your students into Classroom, and have you found one way to work better than the other?
Well, the teachers, basically right now, the kids use their Chromebooks and everything's bookmarked. So they're using the bookmarks to get into Google Classroom, and then from there, the teachers are posting a lot of their resources on the About page. Sometimes like you said, the stream page gets cluttered and you can't you have to constantly keep moving things to the top. So I recommend to the teachers to put things in like a Google Doc. And if there's a lot of information in there, put it in the Google Doc and put the Google Doc on to the About page, or maybe post, like share the folder that your resources are in to the About page, like kind of condense it a little bit and then share one major link to that About page so it's not so cluttered, or even to the stream page. So basically right now our students are getting there through bookmarks, whether the teacher posts it on their website or it's built into the bookmark bar through the policy on the Chromebook, but they're going through either the teacher website or through the bookmarks.
Anybody else? How are you guys getting your kids to the classroom, Alyssa?
We're just going directly into classroom, and I'm working with teachers on, again, just like Kim said, making a folder of resources on the About page when it's a constant resource. But the assignments and announcements are all in the stream, teaching teachers to bump up things when they're important again. So we're doing classroom just as the straight go-to place.
Go ahead, Kim.
Right. And I know a lot of teachers are complaining that the stream page gets cluttered because you can't archive any old assignments, or you can't, you may want to keep them, but you don't want to delete them. You want to archive them, and there's no way to do that. So I've been telling the teachers, like, maybe create a new classroom like every semester or every marking period, so that there's less clutter on the stream page, and then you can just reuse the post from that original classroom to the new classroom. And some teachers are doing that, but it's a learning curve for them. So for me, I'm not really pushing it with them. I'm just trying to be supportive and give them confidence and give them ideas on how to best implement it. But for them, I want them to be students in my professional development classroom so that they can see the perspective of what their students see in their classroom, in their teacher classroom, so they can see the two different viewpoints. Basically for my purpose, I'm using it more for professional development as a central hub for the teachers.
I got to jump in on the professional development thing, because we did something in Middletown this year with Google Classrooms and professional development where we had different classrooms across the district where we shared resources on particular topics, and teachers got to choose a topic of interest. For example, I did a Nearpod classroom, and teachers jumped in and learned about Nearpod. We had one on Brain Pop, and teachers jumped in and learned on Brain Pop. And so
Oh, boy, every time Alyssa has something awesome to say, the internet just can't handle it.
She's breaking the internet.
Internet. So when I'm looking at things like Google Classroom, Google Sites, stuff like that, it really does come up with the question of what is the function of, not what can it do. And I know many teachers out there, and I'm going to get in trouble for saying this, think that Google Classroom is a substitute for their website. And that's when they rely on it to have all the resources and the links and everything. And then they find, like what the ladies are saying here, all their information just gets pushed to the bottom and pushed to the bottom. And yes, you can go down to the bottom and find it and pull it back to the top, but it's not a substitute for a website. I'm one of those people that have been trying to push for the idea of having a Google site or a WordPress site. Or
Absolutely. I think as a teacher you have to have a Google site, or a website,
Yeah.
And then you have to have a learning management system. And I think the two really go hand in hand.
Right.
And I think maybe
I agree.
I think maybe until we get to that point.
I mean, contrary to, I love what it is, I love where it's going, I look at it as a glorified to-do list, because it really is, what are we doing today, how are we going to get there, and what are the links? But like you're saying, all of the links go back to your website, which has the embedded video, which has all the docs and all that stuff.
I think you're right, Jeff. It doesn't replace a website because parents need to see what's going on in the classroom, and they don't have access to Google Classroom. So the website is still one of the most important ways of keeping parents informed on what's going on in the classroom.
Right.
And you know what? It's funny is, Kim, first, I think that a lot of teachers don't realize that you can pin resources in the About section that you can constantly go back to, or have your students go back to. But you just kind of hit on the other big secret that I think some people haven't realized about Classroom is if you go into the About section, Classroom has a calendar built into it.
Yep.
And what I love about that, though, is you can actually share that calendar just like you would any other. And so what I've encouraged a lot of my teachers to do is go into Google Calendar, get that Classroom calendar, and put that on their teacher website. Because parents can't get in, but you can bring that Google Calendar out. And what else I love about that calendar is any homework and stuff is automatically added. Any resources that they may need is automatically added as well. And so it's almost like having an auto-updating calendar that you don't have to worry about, and you can push it out to parents until, if they ever add a parent login or something like that. So I think that's really neat. The other question I had for the panel, because I love this, but I haven't seen it being used all that much. Does anybody have any teachers, or is anybody using the Share to Classroom extension made by Google? Alyssa, tell us a little bit about how that's working, because that thing is so cool.
It's awesome, especially with the little ones. I have second graders, third graders. When I'm using a website, I click that push to Classroom, and it goes out to all their Chromebooks at once. So it can go out several different ways. You can click it where it pushes right to their Chromebooks, and the website just pops open for them. Or it goes into Classroom as an announcement or part of an assignment. So you can choose how you want it to push out.
Right, and so the basic function to get it right is I can make all of the students' Chromebooks in my classroom go to the website I want to by pushing the website onto their Chromebooks, or I could take something I find on the web, maybe use something like Duolingo or Newsella or something like that. I can take that assignment I make there, or I know a lot of my teachers are using it with WeVideo and a few others. And using that extension, I could take the outside resource and turn that to an assignment inside Classroom. Jeff, you said I saw your hand go up. You're using it as well. How's that going?
It's so. We're doing some pretty cool things up where we are. I'm still finding a lot of teachers are hitting that button expecting to go to Google Classroom, and so there's reluctance now for teachers to try that button because it's not giving them what they want. So I'm trying to show them what it's for, how to use it. Just like you said, kindergarten through third grade, that button is invaluable to put everybody on the same page without having to type in everything. Still a little confusing, but I love the button and I love the reasons why it's there.
Yeah, I mean, if you take the time to learn how it works, it really is a huge time saver, especially pushing classrooms out to the little guys. And if you're interested in trying it, make sure you get the Share to Classroom extension. There's an Add to Classroom extension, which is different, still pretty cool, but not the Share to Classroom one. That is really the ideal one to use. I just got a tweet that I see JR is going to be jumping in soon, but I know, Alyssa, you have a few more things you wanted to talk about real quick?
I just wanted to say, if you're going to do Share to Classroom, make sure the kids all have it too, because that was one thing that I had a teacher who got very frustrated. It can't just be the teacher who has the Share to Classroom extension. All the students must also have Share to Classroom extension enabled on their Chromebooks for it to work.
We have it pushed out on the policies, the Chromebook device policies, as a forced extension.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
So all our Chromebooks have it all pushed out, so there's no question about whether it's installed or not. If they're not on a Chromebook, then that's a different story. They have to install it manually. But with us, the Chromebooks are managed, and that's already set up through the domain, so that's getting pushed out. And I tell you, the teachers absolutely love that extension because it's a time saver, like you said. The kids don't have to type anything in. They're going directly to the website, and they're on task. They're not surfing the web or anything like that. So it's definitely a great extension to have. I highly recommend it.
Yeah, and that's one of those things, too, is kind of like the ed tech coach. I find making a video, like a short YouTube video about how that extension works so they can kind of refresh, before they use it in that class that day is super valuable. Because there's a few steps to get it working, but once you figure out how it works, Share to Classroom is a really great extension. So I see that Jonathan Rochelle, JR, has joined us. JR, how are you, sir?
Hey, guys. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we hear you loud and clear. Can you tell us a little bit about what you do for Google?
Sure. I manage the product side of Google Apps for Education. So I'm a product director at Google for almost 11 years now. Shocking to say, I can't help but laugh when I say that. So it's been quite a while. And now I manage Google Apps for Education, a couple of other projects that are unrelated, but that's most of what I do. It includes Classroom and Google Expeditions and just the delivery of Google Apps for Education to schools.
Outstanding. And that is Google Expeditions is one of the reasons we asked you to join us. I know myself, Kevin, Jeff, did you guys have the Expeditions beta come to your district?
We did. It was absolutely fantastic.
And you just missed it, JR, is I had one of my fifth graders on who got to go through the expedition trials.
Oh, I missed it.
Yeah, and he was raving about how much he enjoyed them.
Cool.
But what we were hoping is we could just spend some time doing a little Q&A and kind of talking about expeditions. And I think that one of the first questions I had is, where did this idea come from?
So it's actually internal lore at this point, but Google Cardboard has been pretty cool for a while now. We had given it away, I think, 2 Google I/Os ago, which means it's about 2 years old, and it's really cool. But what we were looking to do, and a couple of engineers on our team were looking to do, is to make it really useful, particularly for schools. In the educational context, it seemed like a great idea, but it needed more. So during a hackathon, literally, 2 engineers put together the first version of Expeditions over a weekend. That was just the simplistic capability of one person being able to drop other people into some panosphere, some place that was represented like by Street View or anything else that we had. So those panos are the locations, and it was enough for us to try it to say, this is going to be big. This is something we really believe in. And from that hackathon, we literally had a couple of classroom engineers start doing it full time. And from there, it's that's where we took it and kept growing it.
That's really neat. And what is a hackathon exactly?
So it's basically, I would say, a committed amount of time where, and again, it could be other functions, but in this case, it's engineers try to build software for something that they feel passionate about or somebody feels passionate about. Sometimes you join up a non-engineer or two with an engineer or two to say, hey, we have a great idea. Let's try to build it in a day or in a weekend or in a week. And hackathons can be competitive. I know a few high schoolers that actually do them competitively and have done quite well. And in the end, it can often result in an actual app that gets put out to market, and sometimes it gets, it results in just an idea that's been vetted, whether it's deemed a success or a failure. At least it's an idea that's been tried and an experiment that's been attempted. And sometimes it leads to something, sometimes it doesn't.
Awesome. And then, like I said, I know a lot on the panel have tried Expeditions, whether they've come to the district, so I'll open it up to questions to you guys as well. Of course, feel free to jump in while we have JR here. Go ahead, Kev.
Yeah, hi guys. I'd definitely like to hear from JR about what devices are being recommended for folks and where to get them inexpensively.
Yeah, and it's something that we're trying to create, better documentation around. There might be some documentation live now with the beta being active of Expeditions, but generally, if you could match up the specs to something like a Nexus 5 or better, or the Asus Zenfone, those are the 2 that we use on the Expeditions Pioneer program, and those have worked out really well. The problem, and this is still, the state of the art is still that you need a very strong CPU, GPU in the phone so that it doesn't lag. The symptom of lag in Expeditions is nausea, basically. So if you have a phone that when you turn, if basically it's not turning with you the way your brain expects it, you feel dizzy. And that's really the effect. So if you try something like Oculus or HTC Vive or something like that, one of the most important features is speed, and that it feels like basically the phone reacts the way your mind expects it to react.
Which Zenfone are you talking about, JR?
I'll have to look it up. Maybe while we're talking I can find it. But I didn't. I honestly, I'll ask somebody on my team. But actually, hang on a second. I've got them here.
Not the 5, because I've got a thread here on a ASUS website. Let me just drop it in the chat. But the 5 doesn't have a gyroscope.
Oh, it definitely needs a gyroscope. Yeah,
And
so
so I think
probably.
there must be another, because I had blasted out that I was messing with it, and I had it going on a HTC One and a tablet, and I had read a post that the Zenfone was recommended, and a friend of mine went and bought a bunch of them, and then discovered that they didn't work. And so I'm wondering if there's another version of the Zenfone that we should be looking at, because the 5 apparently is not it.
Yeah, so I'll find out. I actually have a kit of 10 of them here, so worst case I'll go grab one and take a look at it.
Cool, excellent. Oh, and we should drop a link into the little cool 3D printed carry case thing that you came up with.
Oh
phones.
yeah,
That's
the
awesome.
carry case.
There's a couple links we have to drop too, because Kev, you're talking about threads and communities. There's a pretty big Google Expedition community on G+,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So we got to make sure people know about that so they can join us and kind of get in there and see all the really cool stuff that's going on.
Yeah, here's a broken version of my case, but it took a few iterations to get this thing to work.
Very nice. JR, one of the questions I had with my district, we were kind of having a debate. How do you see expeditions being used in the classroom? I think part of the beta was trying to maybe figure that out on your end, but I know we were kind of having a discussion. First of all, if this is a sometime thing or an all the time thing, and I was saying a sometime thing, because schools, my district, we were saying, okay, well, if we were to get it, then how many would we need, and how would we coordinate that? So, kind of from your perspective, how are you guys thinking or seeing expeditions being used as part of the classroom?
Yeah, it's a super good question, and it's something we have been trying to figure out optimizations and what's the best use case. I feel like the interest was spurred by I'll call it the substitution level, which is instead of a field trip, I can go on an expedition, and that substitution level in this case is a fairly extreme substitution. In other words, I wouldn't say it's like taking a PDF worksheet and scanning it in. It's a little bit more positive than that, because it really enables an efficiency that says, wow, at least you can actually semi-save a field trip that otherwise would have been canceled. In other words, if we're not going to actually get to Sandy Hook this year, you New Jerseyites can relate to this one, at least we can make believe, and we can virtually visit and actually maybe do one better by going underwater, because we didn't go underwater last time we went to Sandy Hook. I went in the water, but I didn't go underwater. And so that's pretty interesting, but that was the thing that was just it's what I like to do with technologies that I'm responsible for is I typically try to create a bridge where people can relate it to what they do today. Classroom's a great example. Docs was a great example, I think, of that too. Documents, spreadsheets, and presentations people could relate to. So doc sheets and slides was relatable, but it was very different. It had collaboration, which was critical. The classroom, it's it's still an assignment workflow that feels typical, but at least it's digital, and you can become more efficient and eventually do more with that. With this, field trips, very easy to relate to, but what we'd like to see and what we're hearing people want to do is to not create a whole trip, but supplement lessons with very real experiences, real feeling experiences. So if you're studying shark biology, it's my favorite example because I love the Shark Tank expedition. Great, let's now spend 5 minutes in the Shark Tank. And it's an amazing addition to get kids at least engaged in the complete lesson, but it doesn't take away the other lesson elements. So I like it as a supplemental add to current lessons, or the ability to actually change the lesson drastically. And that we just haven't seen yet. We're not, we're trying to make it so that, teachers can start creating the content that's around the expedition, not just the expedition itself. So I think we'll see more of that, and we are actually working with some schools to create things like that that are less field trippy and more, supplemental to lessons that have, newer feeling components.
Josh, I have a question for JR. Yeah, basically, Jerry, are you seeing that schools, are you envisioning that when this thing gets out of beta, is this going to be a deal where the kids will be going with their own device and getting that installed, as opposed to like the little JR tray of phones that comes into the room?
Yeah, I think actually I expect a cart model to be pretty popular. Like I think a cart model because you can't really rely on the bring your own across schools, especially schools that just don't have the resource. Where every kid doesn't necessarily have a phone that's going to work, and it certainly wouldn't be fair for some kids to feel nauseous because their phone isn't powerful enough, or because they have just too many apps running. So I like the idea of a kit where the school can grant it or somehow have the cart, and a cart model should work well. That's the only problem with cart model, as everybody knows. It's just tough to plan it. To say, well, where is it at the time you need it? So hopefully it can become a little bit more prevalent, or in a place where it's more consistent, the library or the media center or something like that, or the makerspace or something. And but I do think that's how it'll start. And then maybe as the technology gets better and the device is more prevalent, then it can be a little bit more consistent and everywhere.
John, could you help us out a little bit with some of the vocabulary with this? I know there's a lot of people that are still unfamiliar with Google Expeditions, and we're seeing cardboard being given out by banks and fast food places, and they're seeing apps that are doing 3D panoramic pictures. What actually is Expeditions? How does it differ? If I have cardboard, does that mean I'm doing Expeditions with my kids or at home? Or could you give us the broad term of what is and what isn't, so that way when we're at the mall and we see our Star Wars, is that still Google Cardboard if it has R2-D2 on the side? Or
yeah, I mean, it's a great question. So cardboard is the underlying technology, which is a spec that defines how the phone will represent the left and right eye to lenses that are a certain focal length away, which is typically, call it a couple of inches for lack of precision here. And so it's fairly easy to create an app that's compatible with cardboard. And then it's very easy, because it's an open standard, for anyone to create a cardboard. You can make it yourself. You can get it from McDonald's or the New York Times, or buy it online. There's so many different kinds, because it's a very simplistic physical device. Those two things together makes it so that you have physical cardboard devices that are where your phone goes in, and you have apps made by people that are compatible with that device. And those apps are all kinds of things, from a commercial of a Volvo car, where somebody's just going to give you a walkthrough of a car, to a roller coaster ride or a game. Or I've seen an educational app that was really quite cute, which was anatomy. And it's got interactions where you look at something for long enough where it takes you to the next room or something like that. All of those things are just basically apps built for cardboard. Expeditions is also an app built for cardboard, but it adds the element of the teacher guide. And the teacher guide is not a cardboard app, but it controls the cardboard app once it's connected to the teacher guide. And therefore, a teacher can take 30, 50 kids on a trip. That's sort of the concept. So it's basically a cardboard app, Expeditions, but it's also a non-cardboard app that controls the cardboard side.
And was it Google at your hackathon that actually created the concept of cardboard, or was that as a
cardboard? Yeah, that was already there. That's why I was saying cardboard was there a couple of years ago, which everybody thought was cool, but a lot of people thought, well, yeah, but it's not useful, or at least it's not useful in schools. There weren't that many apps left, there at that time, and now you could probably find a ton of apps that are useful for cardboard, but still single player. It's still like one person at a time, and we wanted to make an experience that felt more like a class experiencing something together.
I would like to jump in here for anyone who hasn't experienced Expeditions. The difference between a cardboard experience and the virtual reality that's just an independent one is that the teacher has that tablet, and the teacher can direct where the people are with their cardboard, and the teacher can point out things and tell everyone to come look over here. And that's what makes it so very different, and that teacher control of where the students are within their virtual reality, what they're looking at, when they're looking at it, makes a big difference. And that was part of what makes Expedition just so different than anything else.
Yep, that's a great description.
I have a quick question for you. The safety recommendations on students using the virtual reality piece, because your preferable vision is limited, and then if they're up looking around and moving around like me, I would be more concerned with them hitting their head or falling or losing their balance. At my school, we didn't get the opportunity to test it, so I'm at a disadvantage here with the rest of the panel. But I would like to know if you had any kind of recommendations for the users on when they do use it. Should they obviously they should be sitting down, but anything that you can recommend as far as safety would be concerned.
Yeah, it's typical of any cardboard app, and sitting down is not necessary, but not walking is. And we've got like this list of things we go through during the Pioneer program, which are those recommendations. First of all, age-wise, there is clear research that says age 7 and up is safe. In other words, for your vision, for your brain development, for things like that, there's definite research. So we always say, okay, we're only going to do over 7. In other words, we never recommend using it for under, not because it's dangerous, but because there's not clear research that says that. So we're not, we're taking the conservative view. And second, there's like some edge cases. Concussion patients should use what we call magic window mode. They shouldn't necessarily use cardboard. You can basically take your phone out and you basically 2-finger tap and you can get the whole thing in one window. And so you look around this way outside of the cardboard, and it's actually quite a good experience. So a lot of people are using what we like to call magic window mode, and that's fine too. So there's a couple of small recommendations like that, and certainly the do not walk is an important one. And so far we really, knock on wood, haven't had any incidents with so many kids trying this. Like literally hundreds of thousands of students have gone through this in the Pioneer program alone. Not to mention all the people that have been using cardboard apps generally. So it's one of the things that we like about cardboard also is that it's incredibly simple to just quickly pull it down and look, see where you are, get a feeling for your balance if you're not feeling like the phone is fast enough, or you're getting that feeling of not feeling comfortable. It's really easy to pull it away, whereas the ones that are strapped on your head, they really have to be practically perfect devices so that you don't get that feeling, and they need, I would say, like conditions in the app that let you sense walls and objects in front of you. So that's a little bit different, but that's a different product.
Yeah,
but it's a good question.
I'd be curious your thoughts about those more permanent style headsets as opposed to the cardboards in general.
I mean, I really think that they're early, so there are, in my mind, not necessarily enough great apps for them, but they're coming, and I think the devices are getting more powerful so that there's not this negative sense of nausea. I remember my son tried the Oculus Rift quite a while ago when he was doing tech reviews on YouTube, and he got his hands on an Oculus Rift to try, and he couldn't use it for more than 30 seconds. And I think it was just not really running on the right machine. He was running it on a machine that was not fast enough. You put that thing on a good machine and there's no issue. It's amazing. The experience is incredible. But there's got to be more standards around that. And it's otherwise, it's just hard to see, okay, what's going to be the practical use until the applications come. I'm sure we've had that with so many technologies that are new. It's very hard to get used to the idea of strapping this thing on your head and keeping it there and saying, why am I doing this? I saw an app literally today in New York at the 3D printing show that was it was a anatomy app that let you see a body in 3 dimensions. It wasn't VR, but it was very similar, where you could touch the bones and the veins and the parts of the body and move them and get a feel for what's under them. It was really incredible. Certainly you're not going to do that in real life. So there are areas of VR that are just, it affords the ability to learn things in a new way, which might make it faster, might make it more effective.
What about the authoring app? Where does that stand in the pipeline? Do you have any sense?
Great question. I don't, unfortunately, Kevin. It's something that we really want to help with. We think there are other authoring apps potentially in the works, but it is something that we're thinking about and trying to come up with the right solution. It's really, I feel like it's a great area for us to try to push some of the collaborative capabilities that we've got from other apps into that space. And I'd love to see students creating these things. That would be my dream.
And Kevin, excuse me, JR, I know you mentioned you had some cardboards to give away. We got a few people asking about those. How do you want to handle that? Do you want to do a little contest or something?
I mean, however you guys wanted to do it. I was, lucky for me, I can just put that to you, right? But
Pick a number.
I could definitely offer 3 easily. So we should try to give away 3 tonight if we can. If
Absolutely.
You've got a good way to do it. I think you were going to do, tweeting or whatever.
All right. You know what I'll do is,
you want to do it.
Let's see. Maybe I'll put up something on Twitter. Whoever gives me the first 3 retweets that aren't on the panel, Kim, we will give out the cardboards to that. So I'll put that tweet up in a second. And one question I wanted to ask you, JR, is those of us seeing expeditions, we know that it's kind of that panorama kind of feel to it. And one of the things that my kids loved that you guys did when you came to do the beta was you asked them, what would you like to see? So I was curious where you guys are and what you could share about where Expeditions is headed. I've heard rumors of, voice. I've heard rumors of, being able to. A lot of my kids wanted to walk, their way through the expedition. So I was kind of curious, what can you share with us about what we can expect in the future? I know Kevin just mentioned the authoring app, and like you just said, I would love to see this be a thing that kids make. So what can you share? And I'll put that tweet up.
Yeah, exactly.
Kids drive better.
What's that?
Can you make it teach the kids drive better?
Oh, that would be amazing. Yeah, that would be amazing. So, I can't really share too much about the plan. I will tell you that we heard a lot of consistent feedback from kids. One of them is to be able to walk. Ironically, along with that was to be able to strap the cardboard to your head. Both of those things we won't do. I can't tell you that eventually you won't be able to strap it to your head, because if the phones are fast enough, maybe that'll actually work better, particularly if there's a way to actually hold something that you could see in the virtual world. I think generally, without augmented reality, where you can see your own world with the virtual world, you can't really walk. That's just, it comes down to practicality. But eventually, maybe augmented reality, again, that's, I don't know if that's going to be in the cards or not. People want video and audio. That's certainly something that's big on the list. And the only reason I can't really share what we're doing is it's just a matter of, well, how do we prioritize these things? What's the most feasible to get done fast, and how does it prioritize with everything else we've got to do? But like the things I said earlier too, authoring would be amazing for us. We've got to try to get that prioritized. There's definitely the ability also, what I'd love to see is a little bit more sharing. In other words, what was your experience with this expedition, and what was the content you added to it? In my mind, that's something that for education from my world is probably one of the most important. In other words, and I'll give you the example. The example, it's probably an old example at this point, but the Great Wall of China is an expedition that's amazing, but so many different teachers use it in so many different ways. And the expedition that we had, that we were showing as part of the Pioneer program, was created by a math teacher. And a lot of people are like, wow, what about the history teacher? What about social studies? What about, all kinds of things you can do with that one expedition, or I should say that one set of panospheres. You can put them together in different ways. You can use different points of interest. You can use different, critical questions. There's so many things that you can do to make it the same panospheres, but a different expedition or a different lesson. So we're hoping that we can do things like that as well.
I love it, and I just put that tweet up, so we'll see what retweets we get. But in the meantime, JR, I know that you're super busy and we're winding down here, so thank you so much for jumping on. And I think those of us who tried Expeditions know that you guys have a hit on your hands. My kids, and you can actually see the video on my YouTube channel, my kids went wild with Google Expeditions. So the excitement's there, and I think that the teachers will continue to embrace it and have just another great tool that they can use to engage their students with. So JR, thank you very much. Thank you all on the panel, Alyssa, Jeff, Kevin, Kim. Please, if you have not already, please join our Google Educator Group New Jersey. Our community grows. I think we're up over 1,500, 1,600 educators in New Jersey. The agenda for this show will be available, and you can also see some of the things that are going on in Google right now. Like Google Classroom has added polling. The Code Jam for 2016 is going on. The Summer of Code is up for college students. Google Hangouts has increased their limits from 15 to 25 people. And Google Science Fair is still accepting applications for students until May 18th. So that and more can be found in our agenda and in our community. Thank you all again for joining us. You know, it just continues to show that New Jersey is the state to be in for education. So thank you guys so much for joining us. Any last words from anybody?
Thanks, guys. It was really good.
Great. Thank you, JR.
Thanks, sir.
And don't forget to check out our upcoming events. We have Special Ed Camp this Saturday. We have Ed Camp Garden State on April 30th with Ed Camp Philly on May 14th. And again, you can see all the links to that on the agenda and some other great events that are coming up in the Garden State. So thank you to everybody for joining us. And we will check you out next week, next month for Power Hour number 4. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you for having
Thank you.
All right,
Thanks
guys.
so much.
Bye, guys.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.